Good morning. Today we are going to discuss on the topic advertising budget. Before discussing advertising budget, we are going to discuss few decision areas of advertising. So, major decision areas of advertising include objective setting. That means what we want to convey to our customers and why we want to convey the message to our customers. This includes all communication objectives, sales objectives, etc. What are the targets? What is the intention of the company behind the marketing communication? All this come under objective setting. Next is budget decisions. So there are several techniques of budgeting, and managers need to decide upon what type of technique will they adopt for budgeting. It varies from company to company, organization to organization, which techniques they use for budgeting. Next come in the flowchart is the message decisions and media decisions. Message decisions include message strategy and message execution. Message is the communication, verbal or oral, which the marketing team wants to convey to the consumer. There are different strategies which are used to create interesting, entertaining, informative advertisements, or rather messages which are circulated to the people. Next is message execution. Message execution is building up the rough draft or copywriting of the advertisement. Media decisions include reach, frequency, impact. That is, whatever type of marketing communication we are doing, it will reach how many people, what will be the frequency, how many times we will give the ad on, say, different media platforms. Then major media types, what are the types of different media like print media, electronic media, and which media we will choose for our marketing communication. Specific media vehicles and media timing. So specific media vehicles are those channels or those mode of mode of communication which carry forward your message to the consumers. Like suppose if we talk of print media and if we talk of newspapers, there are several newspapers in the market which are available. And suppose a company decides to use to publish ad in Times of India, then Times of India will be the specific media vehicle, okay, among several newspapers. Last step of this process of various decisions in advertising is campaign evaluation, because advertising involves huge amount of money to be invested it is pretty much required that these investments are evaluated. So, are we able to complete our objectives which we had set earlier, or whatever the targets we had set? Are we able to meet out those targets? What are the shortcomings? These will be revealed in the campaign evaluation. We move on further to budget decisions. There are three types of decisions, major decisions in budgeting: establishing the budget, budgeting approaches, and allocating the budget. So we'll discuss these points in detail. Establishing the budget. So for establishing a budget, a company may adopt any of the criteria, any of the methods like marginal analysis, sales response model, additional factors in budget setting. So one by one, we cover these things. The first thing is marginal analysis. Now, as you can see, this graph shows advertisement expenditure with a red line, a straight line, which indicates that advertising expenditure is increasing. The blue line, dotted line is sales, green dotted line is gross margin, and the blue line near to the x-axis is the profit, which is in a way a difference between sales and advertisement expenditure. Okay, so we need to identify the stage in which we are. Do we need to increase the advertisement expenditure? Do we need to regulate the advertisement expenditure? That is to be realized, and it will depend upon in which state we are. So let's see the rules for this, basic principles of marginal analysis. Increase spending if increased cost is less than incremental marginal return. Now see, we come back to our diagram. So the rule says the increased cost is less than incremental marginal return. So if we see the curve of advertisement expenditure, it is rising. And if we see the sales curve, it is also rising. If the rise of sales curve is more than advertisement expenditure curve, we should increase the expenditure. Okay, so up to the point the profit is maximum, we can increase the amount of advertising expenditure. Similarly, decrease spending if increased cost is more than incremental marginal return. If marginal return is less and you are investing more, so when return is less and investment is high, there is no need to increase the spending. Spending can be decreased. Next is hold spending level if the increased cost is equal to incremental marginal return. If incremental returns and marginal cost are equal, then you can hold or you can stay at the level at which you are. Okay, so this is the principles of marginal analysis. Next we come to is problem associated with marginal analysis. This analysis assumes that sales are the direct measures of advertising and promotional efforts. That means that advertising and promotional effort are only things which affect the sales, which is not true in the business world. This assumes that sales are determined solely by the advertising and promotion. So there is an assumption that sales can only be determined by advertising and promotion, whereas there are many other things which contribute to sales. Next, second approach or second methodology is advertising sales response function or sales response graph. Now, we can see uh, on the x-axis there is advertising expenditure. There are two graphs, A and B. On the x-axis there is advertising expenditure, and on the y-axis there is sales. The concave downward response curve, which shows that advertising expenditures are increasing, but sales increase up to a level and afterwards they decline. Similarly, the S-shaped response curve shows that in initial levels, the spending on advertising have little effect. You can see that in the initial phase, so range A, the yellow portion is less, which shows effect on sales. So with advertisement expenditure, we can get little increase in sales. In the range B, the advertising expenditure has highest effect on the sales. That means the response of sales to advertising expenditure is high. In the third range, range C, high spending will lead to little effect. That means even if you make huge investments in advertisements, there will be little increase in sales. So this is advertising response function. Next, we move on to the factors which influence advertising. So there are 5 factors which influence the advertising, including product factors, market factors, customer factors, strategy factors, and cost factors. So these are the factors which are responsible for advertising budget. We can analyze these factors and decide the budget accordingly. For example, like in product function, product factors, if the basis of differentiation is high, we need to increase the advertising budget. If your product is differentiated, you need to communicate the differences of the product to the consumer and require more advertising. Next is hidden product qualities. If there are some hidden product qualities in the product, you need to inform them to the customer, and hence the advertising budget will increase. Like market factors, if we are in introductory stage or growth stage, we need to increase the advertising expenditure. Next is customer factors. If these are industrial products, we need not advertise much. If concentration of users is there, we need to advertise more. So this way we can analyze all the factors influencing advertising budget, and we can accordingly find a suitable amount for advertising expenditure. Next, we come to some factors which need to be considered in budget setting. This is the last slide for today. So why we changing advertising strategy and or creative approach. This is 51% due to which the budget settings change. Competitive activity or spending level. This also influences our budget. Our budget changes if the competitive activity changes. Then profit contribution goal or other financial targets. If we want to increase our profit contribution, we may need to advertise more so that sales do not fall down. Level of previous year is spending with adjustment. This factor also influence the budget. That is, what was the previous expenditure? We may need to increase the spending or decrease the spending as per our operations. Senior management, this is actually data from US. So senior management dollar allocation or set limit. So limit also affects the budget. We cannot exceed the limit of the budget set by the management. Next is volume share projections. People with high volumes need high advertising, need high budget, and whereas people with low volumes require lesser budget. Projections, assumptions on media costs. If media cost increasing, we need to increase our budget allocation. Next is modification in media strategy and or buying techniques. So if there is modification in media strategy, suppose we are changing from print media to telecom media, television media, then we need to increase our budget and vice versa. So these were the topics for today. And from in next lecture, we'll discuss the top-down and bottom-up approaches of budget. Thank you.